Hello and welcome back to Too Lazy to Read, where we read the uncomfortable things properly.
And today we are doing something slightly dangerous, which is sitting down with a book that looks gentle, sounds spiritual, behaves like philosophy, and then quietly removes the floorboards from under everything most people use to stay sane. Lovely. Truly. Just what one wants with tea.
Absolutely. The book is The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts, and if that title sounds soft, almost herbal, do not be deceived. This is not a tidy little manual on how to have calmer mornings and a more organized sock drawer. This is a book that says the thing you keep chasing for peace may be the very thing preventing it. Which is rude, also useful. And if I had to give you the entire book in one sentence before we even begin, it would be this. Stop asking reality to be less real. That is the nerve of the whole thing. Now, Alan Watts is not some random motivational man who had one good weekend and decided to turn his feelings into a philosophy. He was a serious interpreter of Eastern thought for Western readers, trained in theology, steeped in Christianity, fascinated by Zen, Taoism, Hindu thought, and the strange comedy of being a person at all. The edition history built into the book makes that plain enough. The core text first appeared in 1951, and later editions kept returning because the problem it names did not go away, not remotely. In one introduction decades later, Deepak Chopra calls him the perfect guide for a course correction in life. That is a flattering sentence, but in this case, annoyingly, it's earned. Because Watts is writing in what he calls an age of anxiety. And the insult of that phrase is how current it still feels. The technology changes. The app icons multiply like mold in a damp bathroom. The jargon gets shinier. But human beings remain gloriously bad at uncertainty.
We have upgraded from fear of damnation to fear of unread messages. Evolution.
Exactly. Same trembling animal, better lighting. Now this book is small. That is another trap. Small books often behave like polite books. This one does not. It is compact because Watts writes in tight, clean strokes. There's not much padding. He doesn't wander about telling you the inspirational story of a mountain village that taught him to breathe. He simply walks in and says, with infuriating calm, that your problem may not be life's insecurity, but your addiction to trying to feel secure in a reality that is fluid by nature. And that is where he begins, with what he calls the backwards law, or the law of reversed effort. He says, when you try to stay on the surface of the water, you sink, but when you try to sink, you float. That line is the whole book in embryo. When you try to force sleep, you stay awake. When you try to look natural, you become a hostage in your own face. When you try to hold the breath, you lose it. When you try to seize peace, you frighten yourself. When you try to become invulnerable, you become brittle. Watts even drags in that old biblical line, whosoever would save his soul shall lose it. And you can already feel the trap closing around modern life. Because almost all of modern life is built on intensified effort, more control, better optimization, better management, better routines, better biohacking, better emotional spreadsheets, better ways of arranging the furniture in your mind so the future finally agrees to stop being future. Watts shows up and says, that may be the whole problem. You are standing in a river, demanding staircase behavior. You are trying to grab water with a fist and then wondering why your hand keeps coming back wet and empty. Now, that can sound airy if you say it too quickly. It can sound like the sort of thing someone puts on a wall after buying a very expensive cushion. So let's slow it down. Watts is not against practical common sense. He is not saying don't lock your door, or don't save money, or don't learn first aid because reality is a jazz solo. He means psychological security. The wish to nail life down absolutely, to know who you are once and for all, to know where love is going, to know that your body will behave, to know the world is under control, to know that your meaning cannot be taken away, to know that if you do the correct rituals of work and self-improvement, existence will stop